Howdy doody, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another new form event with me, your host, Brandon Groce, and the wonderful
Cole Jan. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, we are super excited to have you guys. We have a couple people in chat. We have Identity, Canvas, Alex, Martin, Collective MO, Miguel, Angela, and Samo. It's a pleasure to see you guys. We are going live today on both Instagram and YouTube. If you guys are tired of the small screen on Instagram, feel free to come over on YouTube. Simply put in the live chat YouTube and we'll send you an automatic DM for where to watch on YouTube. With that being said, we have an amazing event for you guys today. We are talking about, or really our workshop for today is going from Figma to a full out Wix Studio website. A lot of people, and especially in today's age where AI tech is just moving so quickly, we can't just stay in our design files. We really have to learn as designers how to make functional things, be able to ship that. So today's focus, and Cole is going to give us a little bit more of a detail on what our end product is going to look like, and the rest of the workshop is going to be how to build it. Of course, if you guys again are on Instagram, you guys don't have any links for you. Those who are watching on on YouTube, the links in the description. You have access to our Figma file as well as our finished website already, so you can poke around and take a look. And we already see a good 40-30 of you in our Figma file swimming around, so we're super excited to see that. With that being said,
currently
we got
There's a lot of you
56
guys in there
swimming, so we love that. All right, guys, so really quick, I already mentioned to you guys, if you guys are watching on Instagram, you want to watch YouTube, how to do that, just look at the pinned comment. If you guys want to get the files on YouTube, link in the description. And finally, if you guys are new to Newform, we are a community over 12,000 plus creatives and web designers, and our whole shtick teaching you guys the skills you need to beat out your competition in the marketplace, and they also teach you how to monetize those skills. Today, we're teaching you how to build. So with that being said, to join, literally go to newform.community or check the links out in our description. And for you on Instagram, check out the links in our bio, or put join in the chat. All right, that's it from me, Cole. What do we got for today?
Yeah, so if we go ahead and share my screen, Brandon, I'll show everyone what we got working on Figma, and then I'm going to show you the actual live website that we got.
Sounds good. Now, before we do that, I also want to let you guys know in the chat, this is a whole conversation. If you guys have questions about what's going on, we're going to try to go really fast, but my job here today, since my job is the audience side of things, Cole's going to go through everything, and I'm going to try to relay back and forth with him your questions, your concerns, all those things. So feel free to conversate in the chat. I'll be with you, but all right, let's go to Cole's screen.
Awesome. Yeah. So feel free to stop me, Brandon, if there's any pressing questions, but I think most of them will probably happen closer to the end. So yeah, just let me know when they can see my screen, Brandon.
We are all good.
Awesome. Okay, so here is the design. Now I can see a ton of you guys, 66 in fact, are hanging out in this file over here. So check out the link in the description on YouTube if you want to join all of these people in this, but we're going to be working in a separate file so we have less distraction. And so this is the finished result in Figma, at least, that we're going to be working towards. And it was kind of my take on actually a kind of a sports betting or maybe even a gambling website of some sort. And it's got a kind of a spooky theme to it, which I quite like, a very golden theme to it. And so, I mean, the layout is pretty straightforward. A couple important points is we've gone through and used auto layout on some of these. And when we import this into Wix, it's going to make our lives a little bit easier. Specifically down here, down below, everything is grouped, and then we have auto layout for these things, and that is going to make our life a lot easier. We could do that in Wix, but we're going to do it in Figma here. Then there's a little less for us to do. Moving over, we're going to fully responsify this. I think that's the word, responsify. Maybe not, to the tablet version down here, just like so. And then that will also work for our mobile version like this. Okay, let me jump over to the live site actually. And so you can also check out this link too. It is a real life site, and it's also mobile responsive. So later we're going to shrink it down and you'll be able to see that it is fully responsive, hopefully, unless I mess something up along the way. We've also got some mouse effects in here and some hover effects too. that we'll do right at the end to show you how to put those together. And as we scroll down, we also have some cool scroll effects of things fading in and then fading out as we scroll up. So that's everything that we're going to do today. We're going to try and pack it in. I have probably 45 minutes or so to get that done. So let's get straight into it, guys. So we're going to be starting off with a blank site here. And let's not do that. And so the very first thing we're going to do is we need to install Figma to Wix Studio. So come up to these 3 lines here, and we'll come over to Tools and hit Import from Figma. And now the link in there is just a dummy link. So we're going to come back over to Figma. Now I do apologize. We are going to be switching back and forth a fair amount. That's just kind of how the plugin works. So bear with me as we do that. But I'll come in here and paste in our link and hit connect. Okay. And while that's connecting, we're going to come back over to Figma, and we need to grab our Figma to Wix Studio plugin, just like so. So we're going to set up the export, and this is just walking us through the step that we just did with setting up the tool. So I'm going to hit I'm done connecting my file, and we are going to start exporting. Now, the very first thing that we're going to want to do is export the styles. This is going to make our life easier when we go to export the actual, import the actual website itself. So we'll hit refresh import, and it should show up over here. If we give it a second, there we go. So we'll hit apply styles. We're going to do this once more for the section below as well. Hit export styles, and then we'll also import those. Now, once everything is imported, we're going to actually go ahead and import the entire website. But it is important to do these steps first. It's going to make sure that we get a much better result. So hopping back once again, we're going to hit back, and now we're going to export the actual frame itself. So we're going to hit export frame and export it. That's all we need on the Figma side. We refresh the import, and don't forget to refresh the import. And it's going to come in here. Now, importantly, it's going to show us that we need to set our reference width to 1440 pixels. So I'm going to go ahead and manually do that right here. We'll hit apply, and then that disappears. So that's looking good. Make sure to import this as a section, not a page. You can import it as a page, but today we're working with sections. So while that's coming in, we're going to give it a second. It should come in pretty quickly, just like so. We're going to fix this up in a second, but overall, this looks almost exactly like what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and export the other section down below. We'll grab this and hit export frame. There we go. Hop back in here, refresh the import, and it should come in. Now, you'll notice on desktop, there's very little for us to actually change. Once this is in, we're going to adjust this little loop that we have here, and that's it, right? This is it. So let's come up here. Now, this is always hard to get into this to line up properly. I always struggle with this. We're going to bump it down a tiny bit. Just bear with me as I try and get this lined up, kind of like that. Okay, awesome. So that is our mobile all set up, right? Albeit there's no animation or anything, but if we shrink this down and go up in size, it looks good, right? Everything scales properly, and that's exactly what we want. Now, when we shrink down to tablet, it looks okay. But if we shrink down to mobile, it doesn't look good, right? This is not at all what we want. So instead, we're gonna switch back to tablet, and let's start making this responsive. So the very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this vector art that we have, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna be switching on the width and height. And this is important. We're going to set it to 100% and 100% height as well. And this is so that it's going to stretch and so that we don't run into any issues as we go. We're also going to turn off keep original proportions. That is important. Now, I like to have some height to work with when I'm making things responsive. So I'm going to come in and select our section and set it to about 170 view height, something big, right? We're going to need some room to work with on this one. This vector art is going to get stretched out, so we'll set it back up to 100%, just like so. We're going to go ahead and hide these vector arts because we don't actually need them. And that's that for that component. Now, 1 second here. There we go. Okay. So next up, we want to blow up this image, right? If we refer back to Figma, we see that we want to make it a lot larger, actually. And along with all this text, make it bigger too. So that is exactly what we're going to do. Let's grab this, and I'm going to turn on our advanced settings once again. I'm going to go with a width of about 80%. And that isn't actually going to stretch our image out. So we're going to select our image, turn on advanced once again, and turn it up to about 86% or so. We'll actually go a little higher to 90. Now you'll see that it's cut off, and this happened to me a lot actually. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to grab this and we're just going to hit reset image, just like so. That's going to stretch it out and make everything fit nicely. Now you'll see it's anchored to the bottom here. We want it to be anchored to the top actually, and that's going to stretch our container out, which looks good. Now we need to stretch out our vector art as well. So we're going to stretch it to about 100%, something like that, and grab our other vector art and do exactly the same thing. Now later, we're actually going to be getting a mouse effect in here, and we're going to be moving this around, right? Getting it to follow our cursor as we move it around. But for the meantime, let's just get it set up and positioned nicely like so. Good enough. If you had a little more time, you would position it a little bit better than I am, but we are running a little short on time. I'm going to grab this container and I'm going to center it just like so. Next up, I want to make our immortality, our text a little bit larger. I'm going to go something to about 110 pixels, just like so. Now, you'll see that really we're just kind of moving things around here. There's not a whole lot of difficulty, a lot of issues that you're going to run into. With some layouts more so than others, you just need to move a couple things around. So it's exactly what we're doing right now. So next up, this text, both these containers are very small, right? We need to make them bigger. So let's focus on this stack next. I am going to go ahead and once again turn on our advanced settings, and I'm going to bump this up to something like 60, maybe even 70% or so. Our text in here, we're going to need to make larger. I'm going to turn it up to about 42 pixels. It's going to look quite large, but as we scale it down to the mobile version, it's actually going to look really quite good. So that is exactly what we're going to do. Now, I want these to be kind of staggered. If we refer back to my Figma file, you'll see that they're kind of offset a little bit. So let's do that. The way we're going to do that is, let's come down here. We're going to, first of all, center align this, and then we're going to come up here and align it to the right of the container. And we'll do the same thing with this. We'll center align it, but we won't right align it. We'll keep it left aligned for now. Our stack, I'm going to bump up the size a tiny bit more. We need a little extra room. Now, right now, everything's a little too spread out. I want to actually squish down that text a tiny bit. So how we're going to do that is we'll just come in here and move it down to something like 70%. That looks great. And once again, we'll move this down to 70% or so, not 705. There we go. Now, since this is a stack, we can actually just bump up the height just like that. And it's looking pretty good so far, okay? I think that we're going to call that section done. Next, we need to move on to this section. Now, I'm realizing that I'm going to run out of room. I need a little bit more space to run. So let me grab our section and bump it up to about 200 view height. Actually, let's undo that. I'm actually going to move this up a touch as well. Make sure everything is spaced in correctly. Brandon, if there are any questions so far, feel free to let me know.
Sure, we got it. Me and Robert are in the chat, taking care of all of it, so you can keep doing what you're doing.
Good, I'm glad. Okay, so next up, let's mobile, or not mobile, tablet, I guess, optimize this one. So I just made the container a touch larger. Now it won't scale up the items inside itself. We are gonna have to do that manually, but that is okay. Let's grab this and bump it up to about 42. That seems to be what we're working with right now. And we'll center it in our container. Next, let's grab these images, and same idea. We're just scaling things up and making it look good, guys. Not a whole lot to it, and anyone can do this, really. It's not, it doesn't take a whole lot of skill. Okay, this isn't working. Let me grab that instead. Thank you. Yeah, like I was saying, it doesn't take a whole lot of skill, right? Anyone could absolutely do this, especially the importing into Wix Studio is super easy. They've done a great job making that actually really straightforward. I'm going to grab both of these. Yeah, go ahead.
We do have a question, and I was going to answer just in the chat, but I thought maybe we can illustrate it, and also we can illustrate it when proper time. I just want to know, one of the questions is, can we only use percentage when scaling elements? And the answer is there's more than just percentage, but when we get to scaling things, just remember that was a question, and we'll okay.
I'll take a stab at it right now, actually. So no, you can use, there's many different types that you can use, and we're actually going to use a couple different ones throughout this process. I have been using percentages mainly. I do like them the most. There's also view width and view height. Those are our relative units is what they're called. So they change as the size of our viewport changes. Okay. There's also pixels, which are fixed. And then there are starred pixels that Wix has, and those are scalable pixels. So it's also another scalable measure. It'll change as the viewport changes. I just prefer to work with percentages. I've worked with them for longer, and generally I find them easier to work with, but whatever works for you. The way that the scaled percentages will work is we're on 768 pixels right now for our screen size. So 180 pixels will be whatever 180 divided by 768 is. Off the top of my head, that's 25%, I think, roughly. So it'll be, you can absolutely use those. You don't need to use percentages. That's just what I prefer when I'm working with them. I find it to be a little easier. So that's kind of the rundown. I hope that answered your question, and we'll see it more as we go through. We'll use view width and view height as well. So yeah, hopefully that answered it. Now I've just gone ahead and mobile optimized this. Just some small changes, making the text a little larger, tweaking things, and yeah, that is basically it. So this section is looking really good, actually. This looks a little off center, so I'm gonna pull it over. Just some small tweaks. But now we need to come down and do this section. So let's get into it. So once again, I'm gonna switch to the advanced settings, and here I'm gonna set it to a 200 viewport height. So this is just gonna give us extra room to work with on this version. Once again, we need to change this vector art so that it is 100% in both the height and the width. So let's go ahead and do that now. And once you do that, once again, you'll be confused, right? You'll see, well, it's not actually stretching. You need to come in here. Wix sometimes does like to hide these things, and you need to turn off keep original proportions. That is a very important one. It got me scratching my head a little bit for a little bit there, but eventually you'll figure it out. So yeah, let's just, I guess, keep making things larger. Not a whole lot to do here. We are going to take this stack though, and this is why I was talking about the importance of stacking things. When we use auto layout in Figma, it actually turns into these stacks that are editable in Wix Studio. Now you can totally do this in Wix Studio too. You don't need to have it done in Figma first. We just did it in this case because I got a lot to do and very little time to do it. But the nice thing about these stacks is we're going to turn it from horizontal into vertical, and that's going to stack things one on top of the other very nicely and with very little effort, right? We can just stretch these things out. Now, things do look a little bit awkward here, and it's just because it's too small. So Let's go ahead and make this stack a little bit wider. Now this, once again, will throw off some of our proportions. It's going to make these lines massive. Our images will get bigger, but our text won't. And it's, I guess, one of the bizarre things, but we're going to fix that real quick. So let's come in here and we're going to set this up to about 40 pixels and below to about 30. Now, if you're in the Figma file right now, you'll see that I actually have a style guide set up. Now, normally I would be referring back and forth to this. For the sake of viewing things, I have it written down here so that we don't need to keep going back and forth. But yeah, generally you would be referring to your style guide as you go along. I'm gonna make this a touch smaller. Yeah, and I mean, this is the designing process, right? People pay you a lot of money to do this sort of thing. So yeah, it's not terribly difficult. It's easy to get into, and Wix actually makes it really easy for you guys. So I'm just shrinking down these lines now, and now we have a bit of repetitive work ahead of us since we got to do this twice over. But one important thing before I hand it off to Brandon and let him talk while I work a little bit here is we need a little extra space, okay? This slash is getting a little too close to our text, and I am going to make these a smidge larger, something like that. But yeah, so we just added some margin onto the bottom, just like that, and now things are looking really good. So this is the first one. I'm going to go ahead and do this twice more. But Brandon, feel free to take it away, talk about our community, let them know what is up.
You got it. And I really appreciate all the questions coming in. You guys are asking excellent questions, and I'm going in here as well on the YouTube chat. I believe, let me see, I think it's Ingrid who is asking, what is the point of, or can we bring in desktop, or excuse me, tablet or mobile designs into Wix Studio? The answer is no, but the reason why is the process is a lot simpler. Literally, the only reason that we have, if you guys are in the Figma file, that you have, or you're seeing the tablet and the mobile, is just so you can see our visual idea. And that what we're designing, or Cole is designing here on Wix Studio, that we can get a one-to-one representation of our idea. Literally, if we were just doing this, the process would be we're going to design a desktop design in Figma, literally then go to our Figma to Wix Studio plugin, upload everything, then do everything else, the tablet and the mobile on Wix Studio. Again, the way that the world is going is we are not, the world is no longer going to care about design files. We need to start building real things and real things quickly. That's why the Figma to Wix Studio plugin is a great workflow for getting us designers who are very comfortable with Figma designing the desktop version, swapping into something, other platform, Wix Studio, that allows us to actually make that vision become a reality. It has a URL, it's live, we can interact with it, it's real. We can ship things, whereas a cool design file, you know, you can put that on your portfolio, you can make a great video with it, but we're moving in the direction of building real things. So just wanted to reiterate that again. Again, guys, just a shout out to our community. If you guys came in a little bit late, our community is 12,000 strong on Discord. If you guys want to join the community because you are not, you want to, because we have cool workshops like this where we attend to each and every one of you guys' questions, because we're about skill building and about helping you guys monetize those skill sets as well. We also have a challenge, a monthly challenge to help you guys build your skills. This month it is 80s neon themed, and there is a cash prize pool of over $2,000. The first top Wix Studio prize is $1,500. So if you guys want to learn more about that, simply go to newform.community/challenge, or just go to newform.community. I also believe the link for that, if you're on YouTube, is in the description. If you guys are watching on Instagram, first of all, come over to YouTube, put YouTube in the live chat so you can get a link on over. But yeah, Cole, are we? I just wanted to check back in with you. All right.
No, we're looking very good. Thanks for doing that, Brandon. So we're done on the tablet, at least. If we take a quick scroll through here, we can see that everything looks really good, actually. So a couple things before we switch into mobile. All of this stuff is going to get scaled down, and it's actually, it might look big now, but we've done this so that we only need to import on desktop, design on tablet and rearrange things, and then everything looks good on mobile. Now, what I have to do before we switch over is I need to switch off this height because we've set it so that we have room to work with, but now I don't want it anymore. I want to have the elements dictate how tall our height is and nothing else. So I'm just going to add some bottom margin to this, something like 20% or so, maybe a little less, 15. And that's going to make sure that our upper section stays away from our bottom section, doesn't get too close. So if we come back and we turn off this viewport height and just switch it to auto, you'll see that nothing happens. And this is another one of those Wix quirks that, sometimes it makes you scratch your head a little. If we come down here and go to rows, we'll see that it's set up a row with those special pixels, with those scalable pixels. And we want to actually turn that off, okay? We want to turn that onto auto. So we need to change it into 2 places. And when I do that, you'll see that it slightly moves a tiny bit. And then as we scale, it will shrink or expand to accommodate our the height of our elements. And so that's just an important note. I wanted to point that out because it can be somewhat difficult to find. Same idea here. We'll turn this off and we'll come into rows and hit auto. Awesome. Okay. And we could even add just a touch of bottom margin here to spread it out, give us a little tiny bit of room. Okay, awesome. This is looking really fantastic, guys. So I'm going to switch over to mobile now, and you can see that everything looks really good. If you have access to the website, feel free to pull it up on your phone. It should work. It should look good. Fingers crossed, at least. So yeah, that is everything, but we're not going to stop there. I got a little bit of time left, so we're actually going to start animating some of this stuff. I know that was a common request in our last couple workshops. So just to recap what we've done, if you just joined in, we've gone from our Figma file here. We've taken this design here and we've made it fully responsive already in the course of 25 minutes. We've designed it in mobile, and then we've shrunk it down so that everything looks fantastic we've made it on tablet, and we've shrunk it down so everything looks fantastic on mobile. And so now we're going to come back in and start animating some things. So this is where things get really interesting, and we actually we have access to a lot of cool tools on Wix to help us animate things. The very first thing I'm going to start with is probably these dice. When I hover on this container, I want these dice to kind of move upwards, to almost look like they've been thrown into the air. So the way we're going to do that is let's select this container. When we hover on the container, we want the dice to move. That's an important thing, not when we hover on the dice themselves. So in the container, we are going to grab a hover animation, just like so, okay? We'll hit add, but we don't want it to be the container itself. We want to choose on the canvas. And I like coming over the layers panel and just grabbing one of the dice, like so. We want a move animation. And if you didn't want any of these, you can actually set up a custom animation yourself. We're going to adjust the animation, and I want it to kind of move just off to the side and up a little bit, kind of like that. Distance, let's go for 20 pixels, and the duration, I don't know, let's go for 0.5 seconds, and we can just preview that. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll bump this down to 0.4. You of course could play around with it as much as you like. Yeah. So that one is good. Let's do the other dice real quick. We'll add another one. We're gonna choose on canvas, and we'll choose the white dice this time. Once again, we're gonna move it. We'll have it going in the opposite direction, distance of 20 pixels, same duration, and preview. That's looking really good. So 10 seconds, 20 seconds, we have a hover animation that looks pretty good already. That's it, guys. It really is that straightforward to do. And since you can hover on one thing and make something else move, you can actually do some pretty complex animations. We're not going to get into something super complex today, but there is a lot of interesting things that we can do. Now, the next thing that I want to do, if we switch over to this live site, into the live site itself. There we go. I want this this loop to kind of follow our mouse a tiny bit as we hover around and move our mouse. Okay, just adds a little bit of interactivity. So we're gonna need to move both of these vector arts. Let's grab the one on the bottom first, hit mouse effects, and then hit add. We're gonna select track for this one, but there are actually a lot of cool ones that you can choose from, so I do recommend you check them out. Now, if you can see, this distance is way too much. So we're gonna dial that back a lot. I think 250 pixels for any design is just far too much. The velocity we'll keep at 0.5 for right now. We're gonna move on both axes, but if you just wanted to go up or down or side to side, you could do that. And then the ease out is good for it. Let's select our other vector art, and we want it to move at exactly the same time in exactly the same place. So it'll be exactly the same animation. Let's grab this, we'll go down to 50, and then the velocity will be 0.5. Now it's important to note that if you make this, this will only work on devices that have a mouse, that have a tracker. On anything that's touchscreen, these will just be automatically turned off by Wix, which is exactly what we want, and they won't work, which makes sense, right? On mobile, we don't have a mouse, so it can't follow our mouse. If we hop into preview, we can see both of them move in unison really well, actually. And this effect looks really good. Once again, super easy to put together, and you could do a lot of cool things with this. Okay, let's hop back into edit site. And the last one that I want to do before we let you go here is I want to make a scroll animation for this one. So as we scroll down, I want this vector art to start over here and then open up to itself. I don't know why I'm doing that. I will just show you on the real live one instead. So as we scroll down, this line will move, and then afterwards we will fade in our content just like so. So how do we do that? Well, let's start with moving our vector art. So we'll select that, but I don't want a track. Oops, I'm selecting the wrong one. Here we go. Okay, we will grab this vector art, and we want to add a scroll animation just like this. Now we want a move animation for this one, and we will adjust it. So you can see that as we scroll, it'll actually already start to move. Now it's moving in the wrong direction, so let's get that set up. I have some notes here for exactly how we want to set this up. So we're going to do 293%. And it's moving a little too far in that direction. 400 pixels is an awful lot. I don't know why Wix is using these defaults, but anyways, here we're actually going to use the view width. So that one question from earlier about using different units, here we're going to use the view width. We could also use percentage, and actually I'll explain the difference right now. So percentage is relative to the parent container, the container that it's in. So the container that this vector art is in this stack actually right now. So 100% width would be 100% width of this stack. View width, on the other hand, is like percentages, but for the whole screen. So one view width is 1% of the width of your viewport of the screen, right? So as your screen shrinks, your units obviously get smaller and smaller. So we're going to use that one instead, and we're going to set it to something like 22. And hopefully, if I did my math correctly, it should stop, yeah, right there, perfect. So just before, we don't want it to cross at all. And our animation area, I'm going to set this earlier because we want it to happen before we fade in our stuff. So something like 24, okay? And so that is looking really good. And the next thing, we're just going to grab this stack. We need to add another scroll animation. This one we're not going to move, we're going to fade instead. So this one is actually really straightforward. We're going to start at 0%, and then we're going to fade in. And we want it to kind of start fading in where we ended our other animation, if that makes any sense. So something like that. You, of course, will have to play around with the fading. But if we hop into preview real quick, we'll see that things look really good. So that is it, guys. That is the animation. I do actually have one more thing. I lied. I got to do one more thing here. So this is our animation, but it doesn't look fantastic on tablet, right? We mobile optimized it, so it looks fine, but this line doesn't actually move as far as it should, right? And of course, we want it to, right? We want it to move kind of all the way to over here. So let's make that quick change real quick. So when you're making these things, of course, you're going to mobile optimize it first, then you're going to make your animations, but you do want to remember to have to make sure that you mobile optimize or tablet optimize your animations as well. So on scroll, we are going to move it, but we want it to move more. So we're going to hit adjust animation, and we're going to actually change the angle a tiny bit. So we'll change it to 97 instead, and we're going to change it to 67% of the width of the screen, 67 view width. Now we can see that it looks perfect, but I do want it to angle up just a touch more, kind of right there. Awesome. Okay, that is everything, guys. So let's hop back in here on tablet and we can see it looks fantastic. Now I've just done one here, but if we hop over to the live version, I actually have all of them made. Let's go into here, mobile. All of them are put together. So if we view it, we can see that one at a time, they slide open just like this. And I think that I actually like it on mobile more than I like it on desktop. This one at a time is very cool. But that, I think, is everything I have for you guys. Yeah, just a quick recap. If you did just join us, we went from Figma to Wix Studio. We made it fully responsive. As you can see, it looks great on tablet and it looks great on desktop as well. Only did 2 sections here because, of course, we're a little time constrained, but you could do a whole website in probably an hour or 2. And then we added some really cool animations. They're pretty straightforward, not too complex, but the ones down below are a little bit more involved. And yeah, that is everything. I hope you guys learned something, and we'll open it up to any questions that you guys have now.
Awesome job, Cole. Really well done.
Thank you.
You had quite a few questions in here, so people were intrigued for sure.
Okay.
Definitely. So guys, we have about like 20-ish minutes left in today's workshop. We can move it to Q&A. Got a couple people who are asking, or we got a couple good questions during the workshop. So now if you have any more, now's the time.
Yes.
And if you guys want Cole to go back into something, now's the time as well. We had a lot more time than we thought, which is great. Cole did an awesome job. Really quick, I'm gonna move us to our regular screens really quick. Okay, so we have a question here, or it's not really a question, it's from Functional Ambience. It says, hey, nice plugin, does it work on the new Wix editor? I'm assuming you're talking about Wix Studio. Yes, it might, you might have came a little bit late, which is totally fine. Welcome. This is gonna be recorded, you can watch the whole thing later. But this whole session today was to show you guys how to take your Wix, or excuse me, your Figma project, your Figma file, bring it into Wix Studio. So answer is yes, it is for the new platform from Wix. Got Tom here. Once you set up the animation settings, is there a way to copy them rather than having to adjust each? That's a great question. I don't think that there is, unless you copy and paste the element that has the animation on it and change image of that. I think that's what I've done in the past. What do you think, Cole?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Brandon. There's no way to copy just the animation itself, but if you copy the element, I do believe the animation will move with it. But that would be a very useful feature to have. Yeah.
And I've said it a million times. We've both said it a million times. Wix has a long, too long of a, but with good reason, long of a, we need this as users. Wix has listened very well to its customer base. That's the reason that we have this, and the community, so that we can get feedback from you guys, the users, and actually relay that back to their team. And each time that we send them back information, the product gets better. So you're definitely not the only one who suggested this. This is also from us. This would be a good feature to have, but we've been having to do workarounds such as the one that we've another question we have here from Monica. Monica is asking, if we complete the animation within Figma, does Wix capture it as well? Cole?
Unfortunately, no. I would love for them to, but the way that they animate on Figma is so different to how you do it on an actual website, on a web-based approach. Figma kind of uses, it's almost like you use frames and you're just moving things around. And Figma kind of pieces things together and moves things around. Here, behind the scenes, Wix is actually writing the code to tell the object, hey, you're going to move here when the user does this. So they're very different. I don't really think that there is a way to kind of put those together. So unfortunately, we'll have to do it in Wix Studio itself. Luckily, they have made it really easy for us to do that, even if you're not very techy. It's really as simple as kind of clicking a couple buttons, moving things around, like I showed you. But if you do have any other questions about the animations we did, then feel free to ask, because I can show you.
That's great. And just a reminder, guys, the workflow, which might be a little alien to you, is just building the desktop version, sending that to Wix Studio from your Figma file, and then doing everything else. Because if you the world that we live in right now, a lot of designers, or as designers, we're focused in our Figma file. We're used to kind of the waterfall, even if it's agile approach. We are the master of our Figma file, and we send that off to the devs, and they build that, and then they leave us alone. A world where things are moving a lot faster, AI is replacing people left and right. We need to be able to have a skill where we are able to design, but also help and be a part of the actual development process. Whether that's us being the whole team, using a tool that allows us to be that whole team, or if we're running a business and we have employees of our employees of our own, or just you're a freelancer, being able to take more of the pieces of the pie upon yourself to work on, being able to go from end to end very quickly. Literally, you just saw have assets, pull from a Figma file, and design for you a responsive experience in about like 35 minutes while talking and dictating. So, okay.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there. We got a couple other questions we have. Having issues with font importing from Figma to Wix Studio. After importing the style libraries, the frame typography utilize the style.
I think I might know what he's talking about. So when you import your styles from Figma to Wix Studio, it doesn't actually take the fonts that you've used. So if you have special fonts that aren't on Wix Studio, maybe you've gone online onto Google Fonts and got a specialty one, and it's on your desktop, it's on your computer, Figma will recognize that. But Wix Studio won't. You actually need to upload that font file onto Wix Studio, and it'll tell you, right? When I'm sure you've tried, you use the plugin and it says you're missing, this font. And there's a button below that says manage fonts, I think, and it gives you the option to upload the font. So you just need to upload it. Sometimes if they have a different name as well, Wix doesn't recognize it. So make sure you change the name so that it does match. Otherwise it won't recognize it sometimes. Generally it is pretty good with that though. So I hope that answered the question at least.
And if not, I think they clarify it a little bit. We'll come back to it, but I think, let's see. The question is, were we supposed to download these fonts locally or the typography styles to import to work?
Yes. So if you have fonts, Wix Studio, first of all, has a ton of fonts. Just like Figma, it comes installed with, a couple hundred of the most popular fonts. But if you're using a specialty one, you probably got it online somewhere. So you have downloaded the font and it's on your computer now. And that's how Figma knows that you're using that font. But Wix Studio doesn't. You need to upload it onto Wix Studio, and then Wix will recognize the font, and then you can apply it to all of your text.
Great. So Kaya, or Caillou, I apologize if that is not the way that you pronounce it. Let me know in the chat. But also, regardless, thanks for your question, and let us know if that helps. Definitely upload the text or the styles that you want, typography styles to. That might be. I love this question. So we have Kalam, who is saying, I've never used Figma. Still don't get why I use Figma versus just working directly in Wix Studio. Again, guys, right, no, literally, if you know Wix Studio, you wouldn't even touch Figma. But there are people, which is the people who came here today to watch this workshop. We're talking to the designers who they're in Figma files all day. That they like, that is their workflow. They go from Figma file to Figma file. They don't really do too much out of that. We're trying to give them a solution to, hey, we know that you guys are Figma masters. You know how to do all the animation, all of this, the variables, all that. You're basically building a full product in a Figma file. We want to get you guys out of that and to show you guys the easy way to just build a little bit of your desktop design, port that into Wix Studio, so you're working in a way that's a little bit comfortable for you while getting exposed to a new tool that allows you to do much more and actually build something versus just staying within a Figma file. Through that practice over time, they probably will drop Figma. But even for me, when I joined or even started using Wix Studio, I would have really loved to have a bridge take me from platform that I know, love, and use to help me ease into the new product or the new platform that I'll probably just be using from the get-go. But we gotta get that bridge. We gotta get that bridge. But for those who are already working in Wix Studio, you guys are golden. You're fine. You don't need Figma anymore. Maybe for asset creation, but or Photoshop for asset creation. But we're still talking to users who are in Figma. They're doing everything in Figma. We want to get them from building Figma files to real things. So hopefully that answers the question there. Do you have anything to add to that, Cole, or pretty much same page?
No, I think you pretty much covered that.
Alrighty. Let me see. We have a question from Super Pantan. I have a question about the images. Does scaling them in Wix affect their quality, cause pixelation? If so, is replacing them in Wix the best way to fix this?
So yes, I mean, any image that's a PNG or JPEG, I think this would have been exported as a PNG because it's transparent. As you make those bigger, they will start to pixelate. Now, the range of sizes that we were going through isn't really big enough to where we would make it would get pixelated. Especially if you're working with high quality assets, you can bump those up quite large before they start getting pixelated. Now, keep in mind that the more of the screen they take up, the higher quality, the higher res they should be, because of course they're a lot larger. But in this case, our asset right here, I'm pointing at the screen, but you can't see it. Our little figurine, our guy, took up maybe a third of the entire screen. Not a whole lot. I'm kind of going on a tangent here. Yes, as you bump them up, they will get pixelated. In our case, you probably don't need to replace them in Wix Studio. If you did want to, you absolutely can. If you have an image that works better, that's optimized for tablet, you totally can. You would just click on the image and hit change image. It wouldn't change on desktop, but it would change on tablet and then mobile. But I don't think you necessarily have to, especially if you have good assets, is my answer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Where did I just put the chat? Hold on. Put you guys somewhere. Hold on. All right, here we go. And also Robert mentioned it really. I love how Robert and Jesse's images are both in the Wix Vault thing here. Just as we both mentioned, actually, let me just read this. What Wix Vault is saying, I'm sure some places like Design Joy use something like this, offering designs plus web design services subscriptions. Really good add-on for your services offered to clients. Yeah, so you can be a designer, or you can be the designer that actually builds real life things that are integral to businesses. Design is one thing, but if you can design and build a machine that actually helps somebody's business, you can design it, you can help with the automations. Like Wix Studio is something that you can actually help impact somebody's not only design of a business, their branding, but actually the function of their online business studio. So the old way of design is designing something. The new way of designing is designing something not just visually, but how do you design automations? How do you design user flows? How do you design design is starting to look a little bit different. We're not just designing visually because the visual process has sped up with AI. Now, where does the rest of our time go? It goes into designing automations, designing other things as a designer. So hopefully that makes sense. And I think that might be it, Cole. We'll give you guys a minute or two to have any questions, but if not, we ran through a lot. Is there any final things that you would like to share here, Cole? And other than that, we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I can see there's still 48 of you hanging out in the Figma file. So please do go check it out. Check out the live website as well. Take any and all of the assets that you want. If you want to use them on your own projects, if you want to modify these, please do send them to us. We want to see it. But yeah, we hope you learned something today. If there are questions, join our community, put them in there. Me, Jesse, Robert, Brandon, a lot of people will be in there to help you out. I think the link is in the description. Type join in the chat if you want to join us. But yeah, thank you guys so much for attending. We love putting on these events. We're going to do another one of these next month with a brand new website, and we hope to see you out there.
All right, guys, as Cole said, that's it. Last thing, again, Majai was asking, sorry guys, I wasn't here for the majority of the YouTube live from the beginning. And then you guys asked a little bit of what we did touch on the beginning. Feel free to go back and rewatch this, guys. This will be live on YouTube for a bit. Then we're going to transition it over to our website. But it's going to take some time. Regardless, you guys are going to have access to it. You guys can rewind it, replay it, rewatch it as much as you guys want. You guys have the assets to play around with. And as Cole mentioned, we have each and every month another event like this, probably around the same time each month. That's at least what we're trying to do. So, if you guys like what you saw today, keep coming back. Have more workshops for you. We are going to have more demo files for you. And as you guys stay along with us, your skill will get better. And the fact that we have a community, the learning and education doesn't stop here. I'm going to drop for you guys in YouTube live chat. You guys have the links in the description, but you guys have not yet joined our new form. Join today. So I think that's it. Other than that, I look forward to next month's session with you guys for our Figma to Wix Studio workshop. And also, if you guys have any other recommendations, thoughts, questions after you join on our website, come into the Discord and go to our general chat and to ask questions, meet some of our amazing creative individuals. We've got a lot of like-minded people like yourselves there who are learning just as much as you are and are more than happy to share what it is that they've come across. All right. That's it, Cole. Guys, you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you all for coming out, whether you've been watching on YouTube or Instagram, and we will see you yet again. See you guys.
Awesome. See ya.
Bye.